we're in the final week of the regular season for Sam Houston football. There's still a lot to play for. It is not just the final home game for these seniors. I mean, we still got a bowl game to play, and thankfully, with Bearcats getting 8 wins, they will for sure, it seems like, get invited out to a bowl game. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But Conference USA title, position, it's still up for grabs, really. I mean, if you remember, a spot rather is still up for grabs. Jacksonville State will host the championship game. It's down to either Western Kentucky, Liberty, or Sam Houston to take that final spot, and all that really has to happen, Luke. I mean, not that it's not easy for sure, but Sam Houston has to beat Liberty, and Jacksonville State has to beat Western Kentucky at Bowling Green. Can all these things happen? Well, we have a few days until we find out. Welcome to Sam Houston Sports Talk. Luke Scott, Colin Neal. Before we dive into that Liberty game, Luke, which is going to be another good game in my opinion. I think it's going to be have eyes on it like last week's game was. It's going to be on national TV again. But looking back at last week real quick, because we couldn't release the reaction pod because the internet was just giving us, you know, I could say a lot. I could say a lot of things about what the internet was giving us, but
Issues, just to say.
I'll stay PC for this go around. But Luke, just your quick reaction, real quick, about the loss to Jacksonville State 21-11. See, the defense did really good, but the offense, we hate to say we told you so, but we were kind of warning people that there were going to be issues down the line if this kept up, and well, look what happened.
Yeah, for sure, kind of gutted. For how well the defense played, and um, a few calls didn't go our way. We just couldn't find a way to put points on the board there, and we had opportunities to do so. Coming off, coming on the field in short field situations, missing, field goals. It was there for us. Um, and this time we weren't able to convert and capitalize. That's really the frustrating part. Um, a few calls didn't go our way, you could say, at critical moments, which, that kind of happens, but the team didn't play well enough to win. So all you can do is hope Jacksonville State takes care of business this week, and we do our part against Liberty here at Huntsville on Friday, on Black Friday. So yeah, gutted for the outcome, but hopefully there's a way to bounce back from that, and it'll be tough though because Liberty's been on fire recently. They kind of went through their midseason slump a few weeks ago, and they've seemed to have bounced back from last week.
Well, I sent out a tweet on the Sam Houston Sports Talk X account. If you haven't already, be sure you follow that. We're inching closer to 700 legit followers. I block all the bots out because I want to be
Because you
legit.
can.
I want to be legit as I can, as we can. So, but I asked, with the final whistle, Bearcats, sound off on your thoughts on the game below. Um, we had NBA Samboy said, need to fire our OC. Madden could call better plays. Defense stays keeping us in the game. Hunter Watson's biggest fan. All he has to say is kicker and OC. Chris B, he says we have to get another kicker ASAP and need to have the confidence to throw the ball downfield. Designed QB runs and screens aren't going to cut it. And the Litterbox SHSU says we have been wanting top priorities for next season. Need a physical O line. Need OC with creativity and better decision making. I know he's a backup, but hope we never have to use Pavon again. Uh, Defense is decent, but had higher hopes for the secondary. So a lot of people are calling for the OC. I mean, the Brad Cornelson's job, but I'm gonna be honest with you, Luke. I'm not that kind of person anymore. I mean, maybe when I was younger and a little bit more unhinged, I would happily say that, but I'm not a big fan of calling for someone's job because that's a human being at the end of the day. They have to they have to make a living, and but it does show the frustration that the that Bearcat fans have with the offense.
Yeah, it's just there's just been such a huge drop off. Um, you know, that's kind of just what really happened, and the offensive staff was really getting their praises and their flowers at the beginning of this season. You know, when you went pretty much after that UCF loss, they ratted off those four straight wins from Hawaii to UTEP. You know, the offense was clicking, and um, everything was hitting, left and right. Everything was working out. And then since that second half of the West Kentucky game, it's just been a struggle. And we talked to Coach Keeler today on the press conference, and he talked about um, the injury concerns and how Hunter hasn't been able to really practice and been a fully 100% like he was at the beginning of the year. That that is crucial, and that's part of it. But I do think there is some merit into the folks saying, "Hey, maybe we need to change up this OC because it's just not working." Um, you know, I get that, and I'm probably more on that board or on that ship, anyways, just because um, of the lack of being able to adjust and um, come up with something new. It just feels like everything we do, other teams know what's coming, and um, really, Kennesaw was the only game that you were able to have a more consistent offense um, in a way, but yet that still is Kennesaw. I mean, they just fired their coach. Um, it's just an ugly situation there on the offensive side. The defensive side's great though, um, but it's tough to win ball games when you can only throw the ball for maybe 100 yards a game.
Well, we did talk a little, not talk. We were in on a presser in earlier today, uh, for Coach Keeler, and he said how he does want to. He said like if you can't execute the easy pass plays, you can't run the football, and he wants Watson's completions percentage to be in the mid 60s, and I still think I still think, and he did talk about how he still wants to keep the screen game going, but I still think you still got to take some chances. You even asked him, about the wide receiver targets. Like, you talked. I'll let you kind of chime in on this because you're the one that asked the question. But we've been talking about it, how the receiver room doesn't really get, the receivers that we want to get more involved, like Quavez, Ife, like and Noah more often. I mean, Noah probably had the most catches he had this season in a single game overall at 6 against Jacksonville State. But it seems just like there's still that more can be done.
Yeah, it's almost like in boxing or fighting, a guy might have a great hook. A guy might have a great right hand, but what's a great right hook when you don't have a jab, right? How do you set up that right hook? And that's kind of what's been the issue is that we'll have a guy go for 6 catches for 60 yards or whatever it is, like a solid day, and there's not that guy right behind him to follow up, and we just haven't seen that the 1-2 punch um, that you'd like to see. I don't mind us throwing the ball, 3 times to one guy, 3 times to another guy. That's fine if you're consistent throughout the board. You can do that, but when it's when your prototypical X receiver Quavez only has one target in the game, that's an issue. Um, Simeon's been great. I hate dogging on Simeon because he's been probably our best receiver this year, but he was kind of absent in this past game, right? Ife has been hit and miss. It's struggling, and Keeler just kind of talked about just executing really, um, not just on the receiver side, but on the line and blocking and the assignments there hasn't they just haven't executed, and that's obviously a huge part of it. And I was kind of hoping he would say, yeah, we do need to design some things earlier in games just to get guys in the game and get them going because it's hard. It's hard to not be in the game and You get thrown into a big situation in the third quarter, and you haven't even seen the ball. So it's execution. I mean, that is what it is, and you just have to find a way to get through that. And we thought that game would be the day today, or was that Saturday, with Jax State, with their defense kind of struggling, and it wasn't. It wasn't at all. So, and you also asked about um, the red zone offense and how it just hasn't been able to really convert and really been instrumental in a way. I don't really know the word I'm looking for. It just hasn't come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Houston is tied, on 125, 127th. I can't remember. But I know it was around there. But overall, bottom 10 in FBS when it comes to red zone scoring percentage. Touchdown percentage in the red zone, just a little, like 50, 51, 52, 53%. I did the math on my own. The math keeps changing because I keep on messing up. I'm not a math guy personally, but that's but either way, Luke, a red zone touchdown percentage in the 50s is terrible. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
I mean, but what do you? I mean, Keeler talked about not being able to run the ball in the red zone, but I mean, there has to be a way to get the offense to get them going, through the air in the red zone. If you can't run the ball in the red zone, you almost think, okay, maybe we just got to throw our way out of this game and throw our way into the out of the red zone and keep the defense more honest. I mean, it feels like when we get inside the 25 or 20 whatever it is, right? When we get inside that position into the red zone, we are so predictable. And we're already predictable outside of it, but teams are just loading the box on us, and we don't have an answer for it. I mean, at some point, you got to run some play action, you know, get under the center and trying to move some guys around, move them with your eyes. I mean, Watson has to do better than what he's doing, and the line has to give, our playmakers some time.
well, they are facing another very good offense on Black Friday. You said the Liberty. You said it yourself. They were in a midseason slump. Luke. They were not what we thought they should be as a group that went to the Fiesta Bowl last year. Granted, they lost some key playmakers on offense. They lost C.J. Daniels, their number one wide receiver, to the portal to LSU, but they still got Caden Salter. They still got Quentin Cooley. They have a good dynamic backfield. Their status, I'm curious about because they both came out of their game last time out against Western Kentucky shaken up. And that was a game that Sam Houston needed to go their way. Was for Liberty to beat Western Kentucky. So Sam Houston got lucky on that. I mean, Liberty just played a good game. They got into a shootout with Western Kentucky and they won pretty handily, and they made plays on defense as well. Um,
Yeah.
and this is one of those. This was one of the teams last year where you lost by one possession. This was probably the I was at the game in Lynchburg last year when Sam Houston was marching down the field against Liberty, where Liberty was just kicking themselves and hurting themselves to the point where it gave Sam Houston an opportunity down by 5 to win it. And the offense just didn't execute at the end of the day, but it was still a really
Yeah,
good
had a
game.
had a first and goal
Yeah,
inside the 5, wasn't it?
yeah, it was, and it was a really good game. And you know, this time around, though, it's much different. It's not in the middle of the season, it's the end of the season. Both teams are striving for a spot in the Conference USA Championship game. They would just need Sam would need Western Kentucky to lose, but Liberty, it doesn't matter what happens. Even if Western Kentucky wins against Jacksonville State, if Liberty wins, they still get in because they have the tiebreaker head to head over Western Kentucky. So for Liberty, it doesn't matter what goes on in Bowling Green. What matters is what goes on in Bauer Stadium in Huntsville if they go out and win. So Sam Houston is expecting not just Liberty to show up, but a very hungry Liberty team.
Well, what gives me the best hope and maybe this is a little homerish, but Western Kentucky has not been the Western Kentucky that we saw come to Huntsville and win. This past 2 weeks, granted, I mean, it was Liberty that they lost to, and Liberty's a good team. We know those guys are good, but they also lost to La Tech, and it was only 12-7. And they weren't the most. It wasn't the most convincing win against New Mexico State. New Mexico State's not a great team, and the scoreboard was 40 something to 28, but it was a lot closer than what that scoreboard says. I think Jax State probably comfortably wins against Western Kentucky. I just don't. I think they might have just lost something there at the end of the season. And if we could just play our best game this season against Liberty, we still haven't played. I don't think our best 4 quarters yet this season. I mean, in all
Yeah.
honesty, we got our butts kicked in the first quarter against Texas State, and then we played great after that. Colin, we haven't played a great 4 quarters since.
Liberty,
That's
Liberty also lost to Kennesaw State and lost to Jax State in back-to-back weeks. So it's like
and they
this.
only won by like one against UMass.
Yeah, that
And
that was
UMass is awful.
that was a crazy kind of developing game that was going on there, and they won against FIU, but in overtime at home. Um, and they only won by 6 against New Mexico State in a very early conference game back on September 7th. But and people
That's what
here's
I'm saying, Colin. All these teams, Western Kentucky, Liberty, and Sam Houston. I mean, we are all right there, and we're interchangeable.
but you know what Liberty has though? They have a dude at quarterback that knows how to win. People, you and I, there were some people that were kind of clowning on Salter a little bit, kind of like clowning on Liberty a little bit. I'm like, okay, I just remember that this team was in the Fiesta Bowl last year. They know how to win. They still have their quarterback back there, and I still think Salter is a really good quarterback. The funny thing is, there were Liberty fans that were advocating for him to get benched at one point, which I'm like, whoa, settle down. Like, y'all just had like a one bad loss against Kennesaw State, a bad loss against Jacksonville State, whose offense is really good. But now, Luke, their offense is starting to find some footing, and that's what scares me a little bit. They're getting out of a slump, and they're
You know,
finding it.
I just thought about this. I should have asked this question in the press conference. I wonder if an old Sam Houston friend gets a call from Casey Keeler, who had some success against Liberty in that bowl game, Dan Lanning. I wonder if
Hmm.
there was a call made there to ask and see kind of what going on with what happened in that bowl game. Obviously, Oregon's a much better football team than Liberty, right? But still, just to pick Lanning's brain there for a little bit. But I didn't think about that until just now.
Yeah, and also Sam Houston has a player that was on that Liberty squad in Jalen Jimerson.
Yeah,
I wonder if we're gonna have a bit of a what do you call those games? Like a
legacy game.
legacy game? Yeah. I wonder if we have a legacy game from good old Jalen Jimerson.
I hope so. I hope so. He played a great game um, against Jax State there last week. But
He's been a silent but deadly kind of player this year. You don't.
well, he was always kind of my dark horse on the back end. Everyone talks about the safeties and the linebacker core, but I was always saying, hey, don't sleep on the slot guy. Don't sleep on the nickel, and he's done a great job there. Um, Kind of getting sidetracked now, but I just don't know if Liberty is gonna get up for this game.
They
And I
do.
know that's a kind of a bold statement, but on the road, Black Friday coming off Thanksgiving, might be a little sleepy off all that turkey. Colin, I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough spot. That's a tough spot to be in the Texas prison town now.
I mean, it is a very good advantage for Sam Houston to not have to travel. To not have to travel to stay home for Thanksgiving. Uh,
It's our first home game in like a month.
yeah,
In literally a month. In literally a month. 29th, October 29th was La Tech.
I will say I don't know how the attendance is going to be. I don't really I know they're doing some promotions like K. I think it was K through 6 that can attend the game for free. Um, Tickets are like $9 and 36 cents at the on the west side of the field, the bleachers over there. So I don't know, maybe I don't know what the crowd's gonna be like, but I personally think that's not gonna really matter too much because both teams know what they're playing for, and that's for a spot in the Conference USA Championship game.
Yeah, it's kind of like the one game that you'll give a pass. It's like the most crucial game of the season for Sam. Yeah, you also kind of have to give everyone a pass for not being like I won't be able to go. Colin, I don't think. Are you going to be able to go either?
I will be able to.
No, okay. But
Thankfully,
it's like the day after Thanksgiving. It's like okay, like
okay. Well,
I'll give you a
I
pass.
work on Thanksgiving. I'm traveling. I'm driving on Wednesday morning to family up in Hillsboro, and then I'm driving back Thursday Thanksgiving morning to go work, and then driving up to Huntsville Friday morning. Gosh,
Well,
I got a busy next few days. I just realized that. Damn.
I'm like the opposite. I'm just at the home, but my family right now is away. They're in Houston right now due to some other reasons, but I'm in charge of the turkey right now. Colin, I did not follow directions. It was told to take out the turkey on Wednesday. Well, I got my days mixed up, and I took it out this morning, and I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. So I have come through on finding a solution. The brine is ready. Now we're just waiting for the turkey to
Yeah.
defrost. I took it out, but I messed up, but I got it back. I got the situation handled once more.
Well, good for you, man. Do you season your turkey?
I do, yeah. We brine it. We brine it. For however many hours it is due to the however much pounds the turkey is,
Hmm.
however it is. But oh yeah, you got to season your turkey. We,
Oh
we
yeah.
we smoke ours, Colin. We smoke them. I like doing Cajun. Uh, the rest of my family is more of a barbecue family. We'll see. We'll see. It'll be good though.
So coming up next, we have a very special guest. But before we get to that, I know we said we were going to do this at the end, Luke. I literally told you this, but let's go ahead and talk about other Bearcat sports going on. Sam Houston volleyball. Unfortunately, their season ended in the first round of the Conference USA volleyball tournament in El Paso, Texas, losing 3 sets to 1 against the eventual runner-up New Mexico State. Western Kentucky won it again. I mean, Luke, that Western Kentucky team is so freaking good. I was not surprised that they won it again this year. But not to, but either way, just like another great thing though to point out though about this year for Bearcat sports and their second year in Conference USA is head coach Brenda Gray in her 41st season. You know, she's been through it all. She's seen it all, and coming off of a off season where she had that cancer scare, um, and all that, and then finding a way to bring back the likes of Hannah Baker and Mackenzie Morvant, and bringing over a really good transfer. It would turn out to be a really good
Alyssa
transfer.
Fielder.
Yeah, Alyssa Fielder, and bringing a good transfer in like Lila Washington, Piper Boydston, developing these players, just finding a way to come back after only winning one conference game last year to becoming to being the sixth seed in the Conference USA tournament and just getting there in general. That I think that's a pretty good big accomplishment of its own. Even though it ends on a sad note, I call this season pretty successful.
It was, yeah. We previewed kind of the season a little bit. We were both kind of down on him. It's just the way the past few times that have been out there, it has just been um, a struggle in conference, out of conference. It was just kind of always shaky, and we had a really bad stretch there in the past month, and you know, watching that first set, Colin, really gave me some life there, and we had a great first set against Mexico State. Um, and then it just the second set was pretty rough to us. I mean, it was a 25-8 for New Mexico State, and it just didn't feel like we had that same juice coming out of the third, and then it led to the fourth. But um, it is what it is. But there is no doubt the season was definitely a success, and they played so much better this year, and you could see that the team was a little bit tighter together. They there was a real bond between in this team. And you talked to the seniors in that last home game, but um, definitely much better and much improvement. But sad to see some of these seniors go.
Yeah, Hannah Baker, Mackenzie Morvan, Alyssa Fielder, Lila Washington, Piper Boydston, Kennedy Miller. Abby Clayton was celebrated on senior day, but she's a junior. But they don't know yet if she wants to take a 1 more year, for the ride. But yeah, it's especially but most you know impactful one out of them all obviously was Hannah Baker, the all-time career digs leader, Bearkat legend. She cemented herself in the record books. I don't think that her records are going to get broken anytime soon, Luke. But that's going to be a massive hole that the Bearcats are going to have a hard time, filling in. I mean, those shoes. I mean, honestly, those shoes are going to be too big to fill in. Honestly, unless somebody
Yeah,
comes by, but
it kind of reminds you of Trevor Williams, right? Being the tackles leader and really the leader of the defense. It's kind of a similar situation with Baker and being the libero, being that voice, being the leader um, for the team in the back end. It's not the exact same, obviously, but it is a similar situation where they're going to have to replace her. And lucky enough, the football had Kavion Gaither ready and in the arms and ready to go with that role. I don't know who will take over that role for Sam. If they might go to the portal, they might stick with who they got. But it will be a tough role to replace.
well, once again, like the seniors that I named, congratulations on good careers, and wish the best of luck to y'all and post playing wherever they go on to. And for head coach Brenda Gray, I gotta say, did a fantastic job. Moving on, sticking with the hardwood, women's basketball, they got another win against University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Another good victory there. Their defense still become being a main theme. They posted a thing earlier today on the women's basketball Twitter talking about where they ranked in the country. Top 5 in the nation in turnovers force per game, top 10 in the nation in offensive rebounds per game, top 20 in the nation in steals per game, top 20 in the nation in turnover margin, top 10 in offensive rebound, or that's the team rather. Then you have Deborah Ogeyemi, one of the new faces, top 10 in the nation in offensive rebounds per game, top 10 in the nation in double doubles per game. And you have Fanta Kone, who's top 20 in the nation in steals per game. And you have Asia Ward Strong, top 5 in the nation in steals per game. So defensively and rebounding wise, they're pretty strong over there. Once again, 67-48 victory in Bernard G. Johnson Coliseum against UAPB. So the defense is there, Luke. It's just that I am curious to see what happens when conference play comes around. Like, it's one of those things. I'm not trying to be harsh or anything, but it's just one of those things where I am curious to see how they match up against Conference USA basketball, because besides Kansas and Rice, like, and they both played really, both those games they played good defensively, especially against Rice in the Tudor Fieldhouse or Center, whatever it's called. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just like I kind of want to see more before I make a fair judgment. I'll say that.
Yeah, me too. Um, I thought we looked really good against Rice, and the other, Seattle U, Jarvis Christian. I mean, those are teams that you should be able to beat pretty easily, right? And we did. Rice, we looked good, and St. Thomas, another one of those teams. You should be able to dispatch pretty easily. And Pine Bluff was a okay team, but and we did very well there. But the jury's still out. With this team. Um, that Southern Utah, UTSA, HCU, those will be a little bit more interesting just to see of where we are, especially because all those are away games, right? Um, just to see of how the team travels and how they combat those. Because I think Southern Utah is actually pretty decent, if I'm getting that right. and UTSA will be tough too. So we'll see. Um, I don't know. I just don't have a strong opinion of this team either yet so far. It's a lot of new faces from previous years.
Yeah. I think the only from the last few years, Sydney Kemp is the only one that remains being one of the consistent faces. But they have a long layover. They get to enjoy a pretty good break before they go on that road trip. And speaking of road trips, men's basketball will be heading to Wilmington, North Carolina, to take part in the multi-team event that's going on up there. App State, Colgate, UNC, Wilmington, and Sam Houston. This is a really good opportunity, Luke. Depending on how the team's health is, to really start to put things together, because right after that they got to go to good old Hoosier country to face Indiana, and they then a few games in a game or so after that they face off against Pitt. So they have still a couple opportunities to pick up some quality wins down the line.
Yeah, we in our first take of this before the internet really just went out on us. We were talking about we'll take 2-1 in the stretch of games there um, in Wilmington. App State, is traditionally um, a fun team. They can be up and down on you. And Colgate out of the Patriot League is feels like they are always the champion to come out of there, and they're in the tournament, and they're a perennial 13 to 14 seed that can sometimes give you some fits. They shoot the ball very well from the outside. Not the most athletic team, but a team that's very disciplined in the way they go about things. It'll be interesting to see kind of the outcomes of this just because of where the team is health wise. Hoofner's come back. Everyone looks good against Trinity, right? But that being said, it is Trinity. The Nicholas injury is a rough one because that's your guy that can help space the floor in the corners and take some threes there and really drive the basketball to the hoop and play defense. That's tough. That's a tough injury we're gonna have to get over, and you're hoping you can replace him with the Finister, with the Hoofner, right? With Boykin, all these guys Jackson Ford freshman coming in. You'd hope you can get some production out of him, but um, it'll be interesting to see because we just haven't been able to dress our guys. We haven't been able to play our guys yet consistently, right? So again, I just kind of said it with the women's team. The jury's still out with our basketball program here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And Kean Sroggins he didn't play last time out against Trinity as well. They only had
Do
eight.
we have an update on that?
I don't know. We haven't had an update on that. I mean, it's kind of a wait. I guess it's kind of just to see what happens. Unfortunately, there's no streaming platform that's gonna carry over those games, so we can't really see. We just have to go by the live stats of those games. There's not going to be any radio, as far as I'm concerned, for those three games up there. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I don't. I'm not. I have nothing really bad to say. It's just that the having only 8 scholarship players against Lamar, you're gonna get away. You can get away with that against Lamar, but you're not gonna get away with that everywhere else. That's all I can say on that.
Yeah, it's on Flow Sports, Colin.
It's on. I'm not paying for that. Nope. Unless there's a free trial.
Exactly.
Unless there's a free
Yeah,
trial.
I think that's just like a Northeast thing. I think they cover a lot of the Northeast because I remember seeing them. I remember seeing that with Villanova, Delaware, in the CAA football. I think that's kind of just how that works, and that makes sense because UNCW is a CAA team. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, and
yeah, you kind of hope this is kind of the time where Sacco can really make his name and play some really good basketball and be a force down low. And the thing about it is, I think we have the best player in the entire tournament with Lamar Wilkerson. He could be the best player there.
yeah, just it's a really it seems like every game we're like, wow, thank God he decided to stay here because he's been magnificent for this team, to say the least.
He's a dude. He's a dude.
before we hop on, we got one last. This is actually breaking as of today. Sam Houston has announced that they've announced the hiring of Brad Keenan as its first head coach for Sam Houston Beach Volleyball. The former Arizona State Sand Devils coach. He went 90 and 97 over there with when they were still in the Pac-12. His last season with them was in 2023. He was a He's a Pepperdine legend. He was inducted into the Pepperdine Hall of Fame back in 2014. A four-time AVCA All-American and two-time National Player of the Year at Pepperdine as a middle blocker for the Waves. Um, so so they looks like they went with experience on this one, and I don't blame them. I think this is I think it looks like for on paper this looks like a good move just to have somebody with experience and that can work with head coach Brenda Gray because it sounds like they are going to play in 2025. They just need to put a schedule together, and they are going to use only players from the indoor roster. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens. I'm actually pretty intrigued to see what goes on for in their first season of play.
Oh, I'd love to put some input on this, but I have no idea. I have no experience in sand volleyball. It's fun to
Man,
play, Colin. I
it's fun
played
to
in
play.
intramurals.
Yeah, it is fun to play, but I have no experience. But that's just some news I wanted to get out there to because it was breaking as of today. All right, let's.
You know, actually, I have a old high school um, a person that graduated. She went and played for Arizona State in sand volleyball, so maybe I could ask her uh, about him just to see.
I like how they call themselves the Sand Devils when it comes to their
Yeah,
beach
that is
volleyball.
interesting. That's clever. That's clever.
I like it. Well,
We
anyway,
could be the Sand Cats.
oh gosh. Anyway, let's get back on track. Here is our special guest interview. Well, the good old legend himself, former national champion, former walk-on, former Bearkat, Ryan Humphries. He hops on to talk Liberty, the offensive struggles, and some bit more about Bearkat football. Here is that interview right here, right now on Sam Houston Sports Talk. All right, joining us, a former Bearkat walk-on and national champion. You already know who it is. You can see him right here on your screen. A Bearkat legend, Ryan Humphries. Ryan, thank you for hopping on for this preview podcast for the Liberty game. This was Luke's idea to bring you on for the Liberty pod because we kind of had a feeling that this would be a very big marquee matchup, and one way or another, it really is. I mean, Sam Houston's still alive for the Conference USA Championship game. They do need some help up north from Jax State to beat Western Kentucky for a shot. But either way, I think this game could really be a good way to cement an impressive rebound season.
Yeah, no doubt. First off, thank you guys for having me. Always a pleasure. You guys have done a fantastic job covering not only Sam Houston football, but just Sam Houston sports in general in y'all short time of kind of doing this thing. But fantastic season. I mean, gosh, anyone who anyone who really felt very strongly that Sam Houston's going to have a chance to win 10 games. Um, you would have looked at that person and been like, okay, well, let's slow our roll here. So to be in this position is nothing short of amazing for the Bearcats.
You know, Ryan, we're coming into this Liberty game coming up Friday, um, and obviously Sam Houston has not looked of like what it was in the first few weeks. What do you think has just kind of gone wrong on this team the past couple of weeks? Because even though we've won, you know, still quite a few games here, you know, in the past month, it's just been ugly.
Yeah, I think offensively we're certainly not where we were. We're not where we need to be. I don't think we are where we can be. We gotta get a little more consistent in the pass game. Obviously, the run game has kind of been the bread and butter of this offense. But you've gotta scare defenses through the air to make them respect you and not kind of load the box against QB power and handing it off to Jay Ducker, which Hunter Watson and Jay Ducker have tote the rock exceptionally well this year. That's been a huge highlight on the season. But I think we got to find a little more consistency in the pass game. You've got pass catchers like Quavez Humphries, Ife Noah, Simeon Evans, Michael Phoenix. I mean, you really honestly have a plethora of talented receivers. And so I think just finding that groove through the air would go a long way.
What do you think it's mainly because of Watson being hurt? Because I mean, this last few weeks, so Watson's played uh only, I think he's only played like two full games really, if I say so myself, because La Tech, he played the first half, but then he sat out for the rest of that game after he got hurt with his non-throwing shoulder. So he's played only two full games if you think about it in the month of November. Is that something to do with it, or do you think it's kind of just scheming, play calling? I mean, we are kind of further along in November. I would personally kind of think Watson would be very comfortable with not just the basics of the playbook, but the more um creative side of it. I say so myself.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, not playing football, not practicing on a normal basis. That's going to mess up timing anytime that happens. So I definitely think it's fair to say that that's a factor with Watson. I think if I had to put, if I had to put a main reason behind it, I think that we are so confident in our defense that we're not going to give up this many points. And I think maybe sometimes we don't take as many chances in the early downs that we could. I think we could push the field a little more in the early downs. But seems like to me, and I'm being critical here. We've won 8 ball games. We've won some
Yeah.
close contests. The defense has been exceptional this year, and so sometimes the best offense is punting it. You put your defense in an advantageous situation. You know you're going to get a 3-and-out. They're going to punt it right back. Well, our offense just gained 20 yards right there. And so sometimes that does work out the best. But I think maybe taking a couple more chances in the early downs, pushing the field. I'd like to see Ife Day involved more. I know that I'm probably biased. That's a former teammate, great friend of mine. I would love to see the ball in his hands more. Anytime Noah touches a ball, that good things happen. I think stretching the field with Quavez is that's more times than not going to be a positive. It's never going to be a negative. I think Simeon Evans lately has kind of been the guy.
Yeah.
He's for a guy that played quarterback in high school and went to Army as a quarterback. His transition to receiver has been very impressive.
So you're an offensive guy. I mean, you played quarterback, you played wide receiver, you played everything. Feels like on the offense. How do you get these guys more involved? Because it feels like, you know, Ife Dei gets his, two catches in the first half and then he goes away. Quavez goes, days where you don't see him and then, then he explodes, but you just don't get the consistent. How do you get those guys more involved in the offense?
Yeah, I like the screen game. I think that's especially a team that we run the ball so well. Screens are really just an extension of your run game. Those are quick, easy completions that force the defense to spread out. And I think that, I think early in the game, I want to get my guys touches. And so in the first 3 drives, I want Quavez. I want him to have 3 targets. I want him to have 2 or 3 catches. I want the pads to get loose for those guys because I don't want the first target to them to be in the third and fourth quarter when I've
Yeah.
been blocking for 30 minutes. And so I just think that I talked about stretching the field more, taking some more chances. I think we can dial up easy stuff too. 5 yard stops, 5 yards out, 5 yard slant. Just kind of that quick game. We run the ball so well. I know that Hunter Watson is capable of being a very effective RPO quarterback. He's got the arm talent to be that guy. Obviously, he runs the ball really well. And so I think that and like that kind of goes back with what Colin was saying. He just hadn't played a lot of football in the last month or two. He hadn't practiced a lot, and so I think that hopefully in the next, I guess, couple days, those wheels keep turning and into the bowl game and maybe the conference championship if we're lucky enough for that to happen. But again, lots of positives, lots of positives on the offense. But I do think that we haven't. I don't think we're where we could be.
It's a kind of an interesting dynamic because me and Luke have been critical in our own ways about the offense, but the team would just keep finding a way to win. So it kind of puts us in a little bit of an awkward spot. Like there's a W right next to the result, but there's a tail between, there's a tail in the tape that just says that if this trend continues, we're gonna find the team's gonna find themselves in very awkward spots. And against Jax State this past weekend, I mean, the defense proved that they are legit. I mean, I said that they were legit. Holding that offense to 21 points, Jax State, I thought that was exactly what they needed to do. But the offense they continued the trend. They scored just 11 points. But just kind of, is it too late do you think it's too late in the season to make adjustments to where they can change the game plan, or is it not too late? Because they're going up against another high power offense that's starting to find their footing against Caden Salter, Quentin Cooley, Liberty as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's too late because there were plenty of missed opportunities against Jack State. That was a game, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. You beat La Tech in a defensive or I guess go back another one. You beat FIU in a crazy defensive, low scoring game. You beat La Tech, crazy defensive, low scoring game. You beat a bad Kennesaw in overtime. Offense, but your defense and your end of game closing out ability kind of got you over the hump in those, and that wasn't enough in the Jacksonville State game. Jacksonville State's offense, probably the first or second best in the conference. But I think our defense did do enough to win that game.
Yeah.
We missed opportunities offensively. You can't miss two kicks in short yardage situations like that. Just plain and simple. But no, I don't think it's too late because I think we had the opportunities. We just didn't make the most of it.
Ryan, this defense that we run, what is it that is so what's the difference maker between this defense? I mean, on your teams, when you played with Sam, we had a lot of good defenses there. I mean, we had NFL guys. What makes this defense so special?
Oh man, I think first of all, I think the new defensive coordinator has done a tremendous job. Obviously, being such a young guy, Coach Cassidy being a younger guy, that's not something that you commonly see at the FBS level. I think that his ability to relate to the players has gone a long way. Just from what I've seen and what I've been around, it seems that he does a good job handling those relationships. Just I think it's just the culture. You know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, in the Briscoe era, the culture was let's go try to score 60 and let's try to give up 50, and they won a
Yeah.
lot of games doing that. There was a shift when I was first at Sam Houston. That we just, you weren't going to beat the North Dakota States and the South Dakota States with that. You had to play big boy football, not Southland Big 12, shootout football where we can out athlete people. And so I think there's been a culture change defensively where, we've got to play big boy football. We have to play balls to the wall, hair on fire, just unbelievable effort. And I think you see that with this group. I mean, for 4 quarters, you see 20, 30 different guys rotating in and out that just give tremendous effort on defense.
Ryan Humphries joining us here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. A guy that's really been, a big piece this year, has been Kavion Gaither. And, he was a DB that shifted to linebacker, which I don't know if that's easy. I don't know how hard it is or whatever. But, I mean, this past weekend, he lighted up against Jax State. what is he? I mean, and he was there in the FCS days as well, and being able to translate that talent to the FBS, that's been nothing short of amazing. Just what do you see from a former player, former Bearcat, watching the games, looking at it? Just what has he meant to this team?
Oh, KG, so my last season would have been his first year with Sam Houston. And so I got the opportunity to know KG. KG from a very, very young, I mean, as a 17, 18-year-old true freshman coming in, he got it. He really understood that it was hard. He understood that this level of football was an incredible challenge. It was not going to come easy. You were no longer there's so many guys that fall by the wayside because they were this in high school, and then they come to Sam Houston and they're not that anymore. And that's such a culture shock that they just, I played with plenty of really talented guys that just never made it because they couldn't get over the fact that, hey, I'm not that guy right now. I've got to get back to that. And KG got that really early, and so his success is it's not surprising at all to me. A guy that I really saw a lot in KG when he came into Sam Houston, and for him to switch positions and make the impact that he has is awesome. He's meant a lot to Sam Houston. I think following up. Who I would call a top, two or three linebacker of all time in Trevor Williams. I think kind of following that up has been incredibly impressive for KG.
Yeah, and I mean, he saw him every day for, years. And seeing I mean, Trevor Williams was fantastic. I mean, there's
Yep.
no doubt about that. I kind of want to pivot back, kind of into the Liberty game and kind of transitioning off the Jax State loss. You were in the locker room with Coach Keeler. What does he say to the players maybe after a game like that where, one side of the ball, did his job, the other side struggled. What is he saying in the locker room or in practice to really get this team back on its feet?
Yeah, I think that the message is going to be something like, hey, we were right there. I mean, that was a completely different ball game if we execute in spots that we've executed all season. You make two kicks, completely different game. You convert a couple short yardage, third and fourth downs, completely different game. Another. I don't like to talk about bad officiating. There were a couple calls that weren't great. Those bounce the other way, completely different game. And so whatever the score was not indicative to how close that one was. And honestly, I feel like it was so self-inflicted. It was stuff that we could control for the most part. That'll be the message. We're so close. We're so close. Um, I think the message is going to be that Liberty is coming to Sam Houston to put their name in the conference championship bucket. So they're going to bring it, and so there can't be even 1% of hangover from a tough loss at Jackson. It's got to be go time right now. One less day. We play on Friday this week. And so, I mean, we've got to get to it yesterday, and so I still think that this can be a 10-win team or 11-win team, perhaps. And so that needs to be the message. That tough loss, those happen. That sucks. Obviously, we don't control our own destiny anymore, but we do control how we prepare and play against Liberty.
I don't know how much you seen Liberty play. I mean, we all know who the dudes are on offense. With Salter, who's a Cedar Hill guy, was really good in high school, and he got recruited pretty highly then out of high school, and they got Cooley in the backfield. I'm not too sure what their status is, but they both came out of the Western Kentucky game pretty banged up. But assuming that they're playing, what do you see out of that Liberty offense that the defense needs to do to stop them?
Yeah, just dynamic. I mean, those are two big time playmakers, two guys that I mean, this team played in the Fiesta Bowl last year. That's That's pretty remarkable. If this playoff format was last year, this team would have been the 12th seed in the college football playoff, and so pretty amazing to tell you the truth. So to see them not quite be what we thought they would be is a little surprising. It does seem like maybe they're kind of catching a little fire or flame, I should say. Um, but I would just say dynamic. I think the defense. I'll pivot back to the Jacksonville State game. That first drive, their QB running back duo kind of ran it right down our throat, and I was concerned. I was like, man, that was a really easy 7 points. And the way we adjusted, the way we flipped the switch, the way we made an adjustment so quickly was really, really positive to see. And I don't, and I think that's probably half. I think that's probably half our players and half our coaching staff. And so just to be able to make those adjustments so fast on the road gives me a lot of confidence that we're going to at least be able to slow down the Liberty offense. I don't think we're going to be able to stop them because they're going to score some points, and that's where it comes into, hey, we've got to match that.
It's funny you say that because right whenever they scored that opening touchdown, Colin texts me, "We are going to get embarrassed."
If it's hey,
We adjusted. We adjusted.
if it was going to be that easy for Tyler
Yep,
Huff,
I
then
agree. I
it's like,
agree.
and then it's like you said, Ryan. Like I'm like, wow, they just adjusted like
Yep,
very quickly.
yep. They did a
Which
very good job.
I mean, do you kind of believe what Peyton Manning said a few years ago, where he says that adjustments are BS? I've always kind of wondered that from a football player's perspective.
Say that one more time.
Peyton Manning says something about how it was like either adjustments in general or halftime adjustments are BS, is what he said.
Oh, I think just different flows of the game, different. I think sometimes I don't know. I think it's how you start. I think you can start slow and either decide to turn it on, or you can start right out of the gate and feel good about it. And so luckily we started slow and didn't stay down long.
So obviously, um, Liberty, like you said, went to the Liberty Bowl, or I'm sorry, the Fiesta Bowl last year. If you match this game up with Jax State, Western Kentucky, Liberty, do you think we match up better against Liberty, against the Jacksonville State or Western Kentucky? Do you think Liberty's our best matchup, or do you think they're all just kind of right? Because I mean, they're all right there. I mean, all four of our teams are those teams are even. Where is Liberty in that?
That's a great question. I think 3 months ago, in August, when we were looking at this, I would have said that Liberty is in a league of their own as far as Conference USA goes. I just haven't seen that this year. And at this point, we're in November, and so to put them on this pedestal is probably unfair. Um, you know, it's that's a great question. I think that the four of us are I think the four of us are right there. And unfortunately, the two teams that are in that four that we've played, we came up short. And so maybe that bumps us down a notch. But I think if you win this one, then you're right back to thinking, wow, Sam Houston was a couple bounces in the other direction away from winning this conference.
If Hunter Watson doesn't go out in the
I
first
agree.
half against Western
I
Kentucky,
agree. I think
you know, th-
I personally think you probably win that one.
yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to kind of add a little bit more to that about Conference USA football. I mean, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, the league is not where it needs to be right now. And I think it's mainly because that you have first year head coaches, you have Kennesaw State who's in their first year as an FBS program and they just fire their head coach, which I mean, we have all our own opinions about it,
Awful.
but I disagree with that firing in general.
I do
Um,
too.
and and you also but you also have the good programs in Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, Liberty, and Sam Houston's re is has emerged this year as a contender. Just kind of where do you see the future of Conference USA football when it comes to the level of play? Do you think it has the potential to get up to, you know, just basically how like the compute, like you know how all those analytics, those computers, the numbers,
Yep.
like say like rank the FBS conferences 1 to 10. Could it be a time where it's, higher than where it is right now?
Absolutely. I think that the landscape of college football is ever changing. I think that changes aren't done as far as college football as we know it. I think that uh, and if you've followed my stuff for the last couple years, back in my walk on radio days, I still think that there's a day where um, I still think there's a day where you're going to have a five national championship. And I think I think we're closer to that than we've ever been because so many of the FCS powers have kind of jumped ship and are getting on the FBS train. And so, yes, I do think that the group of five conferences are going to continue to improve. They've got to find some money. Conference USA's they've got to catch up in the NIL world. But I think quick jumps and quick jumps to success like Jacksonville State, Sam Houston, those are going to push this conference into relevancy. And I'll throw another name out there. I think that Delaware is an exceptional
Yeah.
add to Conference USA. Their facilities, they're I mean they're the flagship school of that state. I mean their funding and their fandomship for that part of the country is big time. Obviously, I have a good relationship with half the coaching staff up there, and so I've kept tabs on the Blue Hens all season, and I think that they're going to be good quickly in this conference. You also add Missouri State, and they've been a successful FCS program, and so I think that they're going to bring good value. I think that oh man. I think Sam Houston, um, I think depending on what they do in the next 3 to 4 years, what they do post Coach Keeler, who's the head coach hire when we make that transition because that day's coming, and I don't know when that is. Hopefully not anytime soon, but that's going to happen. Those changes, those steps forward are going to decide the next decade for Bearcat football, and I think after what I've seen this year, I don't think there's any reason we can't be equal to or above Texas State, UTSA, North Texas.
Yeah.
I don't think that it has to be oh, well, Sam Houston, they're in the same category as UTEP and Rice. And I don't think that's the case. I think that we can get to kind of that step below Texas, Texas A&M, Baylor, TCU. I think we can get to that. Um, we got to get better financially. We've got to find some money. But gosh, look what we've done look what we've done with so little this year. And I think
Yeah.
that this is only the start. We've only scratched the surface of what we're capable of.
I keep going back to that article that was written in the CBS Sports. Ryan, I'm sure you saw it. It
Yes,
was
yes,
a tremendous article, and it was really, mind blowing to see really how much of a difference. I mean, all of us have been on campus recently. You know the difference between a Texas and a Sam Houston. It's huge. It's an entire planet's difference. I kind of want to stick with this question. You're an FCS guy. Who do you think is the next FCS team? You talked about Delaware. Who is the next FCS power that transitions up to the FBS here in the next 5 years?
yeah. I mean, the easy answer is North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State. I don't know. I know that there's a ton of logistics that go on with it. I know there's a ton of financials that go with it. But if I'm the Mountain West and I'm losing my four big schools to the Pac-12, the newly formed Pac-12 or whatever they're going to call it. Um, I'm picking up the phone and making the Dakota, Montana, that four. I'm making that work because those teams, if you just, I mean, I've played against three of those four. Um, if you just see how they travel and how they go about themselves and their facilities and those are those are FBS programs. And so I would love for them to make the jump. Now that would be the end of FCS, I think.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I think that day's coming, where that will kind of become obsolete. You've already lost James Madison, Jacksonville State, Sam Houston, Kennesaw, Delaware, Missouri State, just to name a few. And so, yeah, that would be my easy answer. If I had to throw a real curveball at you, I'd say watch out for Tarleton. I think that they've dumped a ton of money into their athletic program in the last 5 years. To jump from Division II to FCS. They made the playoffs this year. To make that jump and just knowing how much money they've invested, that move wouldn't surprise me.
That's a big university. They are.
Yep.
I have multiple family members that all went there, and I mean, it's tens of thousands bigger every few years.
Yep. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that would not shock me.
It's a good
Yeah.
shout.
Oh yeah. Well, Ryan, we're kind of are running low on time because I refuse to play. I refuse to pay for Zoom Pro or Zoom Plus, whatever it is, to have unlimited time. Even though I would love to have the money to do so, but I kind of just wanted to end this off with asking you. I got a notification. Like I don't use Snapchat anymore, but I still have it. It a memory from last year. It was this time last year. Sam Houston was about to play their last regular season game of their first FBS season against Middle Tennessee. And I look back at it then, I look at it now. Wow. Just black and white, just different situations. Last year, it all was like, what's what now, right? And right now, it's like we talked about, we could we could get ourselves into the Conference USA championship game. From your perspective, though, as a former Bearcat, a guy that was a part of the national championship team that's still involved in Bearcat athletics, still watching, talking about it, everything, and still knowing a lot of the guys, still knowing guys that are still on the team right now, and a lot of them are about to get their last hurrahs, because this will be their final time playing at Bowers this Friday. Just from your perspective, just what can you say about this whole thing with Sam Houston being an FBS program and being in this position already in their second year?
Yeah, tremendously proud. Obviously, I was a part of the greatest time ever of being a Bearcat football player. I'm very proud of that. And I was a little reluctant in the beginning when we made the jump. Because I was very fond of the FCS. I loved how it worked. I loved our spot in that. But after seeing all the shifts in college football, I know that we made the right move, and now seeing how quickly we're having success guarantees that we made the right move. And I mentioned earlier, I don't think that this is a one-time thing. I think we're going to continue. You lose a tremendous group of guys, kind of that last little piece of the national championship that we had. You lose those guys here in a couple weeks. But I think this is only beginning. I think we've only scratched the surface of where we can get to. So I'm very proud. Is a great word. I mean, gosh, it's very cool. And now that seeing us on national television, seeing us. Small things like I do the ESPN Pick'em each week, where you pick college football
Yep.
games. Well, Sam Houston and Jacksonville State was one of those games, and so that's just really cool for me because we dominated. We were at the peak of our little piece of the football world. We moved on to a new kind of go down a new journey, and we're having success early, and so I'm very proud. I'm looking forward to this Friday. Fingers crossed that Jacksonville State plays really hard and takes down Western Kentucky, and hopefully sneak into the conference championship. And Ryan Humphries is planning on being at whatever bowl game that the Bearcats will be at. So hopefully see you guys there.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Hey, I'm rooting for New Orleans, but I'm not complaining about Bahamas either.
Yeah, no, I think New Orleans would be fun. I think Frisco would be pretty nostalgic, given the stadium, National Championship Stadium, first FBS Bowl. That'd be a fun one. But Bahamas in January would be pretty cool too.
Well, you can follow Ryan on Twitter or X, where do we call it, at Ryan Landry 6712 if you want to get some Sam Houston input. And also, he's a Dallas sports fan. I know we got a pretty good Dallas sports base, and he also posts his opinions on college football. So give good old Ryan a follow. Of course, Bearcat legend. He deserves it right there. Ryan, appreciate you for coming on, and hopefully by the time next week comes around, at this time we'd be celebrating a not just a Bearcat victory, but the Bearcats getting into the Conference USA championship game.
Absolutely, Luke, Colin, thank you guys again. Appreciate y'all's coverage over Sam Houston athletics. It's only beginning for you guys too. Keep it up. Keep spreading awareness and eat 'em up, cats.
Eat 'em up, cats.
Eat 'em up, cats.
Once again, want to thank Ryan Humphries for hopping on. Luke, it's really cool getting some former Bearcats on the pod. I hope we get to do this. I hope we get some more Bearcats to come on here because it's interesting seeing their perspective, especially a guy that was in on the team during its FCS days.
Yeah, and also, Humphreys and Dalton Meyer early in the season, walk on radio, which was, making pretty big waves there. A lot of people, you and I both listened to it and enjoyed it. And for those guys, kind of understand of what we're trying to do, grow the brand, grow Sam Houston a little bit, give some spotlight. Um, it is good to get their input on things, just because they're also in-house guys. They understand of what goes on in the coaches. They know a lot of these coaches, like Keeler, right? Played under him and understand what goes in that locker room. So, it's good to catch up with those guys and um, just talk to them for a little bit and see what they think. I mean, their input is invaluable, right? So, um, very good to catch up with Ryan.
Absolutely. Well, Luke, it's now time to wrap things up before we finally go enjoy our Thanksgiving week. It's gonna be. I mean, this is a pretty fun week in sports overall because NBA is starting to get into full swing. Football, Thanksgiving, college football, and you also
Feast
have
week.
feast week in college basketball. It's pretty exciting. But Sam Houston and Liberty once again on national TV, CBS Sports Network on Black Friday, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Right now, the line has been kind of shifting a bit all over the place. Sam Houston now sits at a 2.5 point underdog against Liberty. The odds, according to CBS Sports, open up at 3.5 in favor of the Flames. Money line not really separating at all. It's pretty close. It's shifted more towards being favored to Liberty. The over under had moved up just a half point at 47.5. So it'd be interesting to see how the line develops as the week goes on. But Luke, as always, I'll start with you, my man. What is your keys to coming out with for the Bearcats coming out of the victory at Bauer Stadium and hoping that they get into the Conference USA championship game?
Yeah, well, first, just kind of look at those analytics that you brought up. It's interesting. A lot of early money then on Sam Houston, and since it's gone to 2.5, some people have liked Liberty, right? So I think that line's probably just about right. 3-point game, inside one score. I think that's just about right. Um, it's interesting because you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Sam Houston's going to blow Liberty out. Like, honestly, with how our defense is playing and how they looked on offense and how they've been struggling, I'd say okay, I like Sam by a couple scores, and now it's kind of turned the other way with Liberty, looking a little bit better and us just not playing our best ball lately. Um, that being said, I still like where our defense is. I think these guys, these seniors that are going to come out the last day at Bowers, their last game there at home, I think that can really get some guys up early and build some momentum, in that first quarter. I like Sam Houston on senior day. I think we're going to go out there and win this ball game and find ourselves somehow in this conference championship. Find ourselves in as a 9-3 team going into conference championship weekend. I like Sam Houston. I think our offense is going to find some success. I think our defense is going to play a huge role in stopping this Flame offense with Salter, Cooley, the whole bunch there. I think we'll be good on that end. I like this game. I like it 20-16. Sam Houston.
Ooh, you are going with the Bearcats, and people were kind of clowning on you in the comments last week about your pick last week, taking Jax State over Sam Houston, but you were right. Um, I,
I didn't want to be right, Colin. I didn't want to be right.
See, that's the thing with our
I also,
predictions.
I also,
we
I
don't.
also threw out the hashtag just saying, which is an all timer.
Man. For me, I say defense, keep doing your thing. I hope with where the Bearcats are at. I think the offense will hopefully play. I'm not saying that they weren't before, but play more motivated this go around. And when you get that motivation, Luke, when you get that high, when you watch that inspirational video on your phone, you scroll through your TikTok or Instagram every now and then, you get that inspirational video that gets your dopamine up high, and you feel like you can go conquer the world and something like that. Well, when you have something like that, when you're motivated, you can go out and do anything you can. And one thing I want the offense to be physical out there. That O line needs to be physical. That O line needs to find what they had earlier on in the season, because it's not last year. Because it's not last year, Luke. This O line, I feel, is better than last year, much better. It's just they haven't shown it yet. I don't know what. I'm not an expert on O line mechanics or anything like that, but I feel like that they're much better than that. And still the same thing, creativity, but at the same time, don't outsmart yourself. There were a couple times where you outsmarted yourself last week against Jax State, and it didn't turn out too well. And also, first and foremost, execute in the red zone. Touchdown, field goal. The thing is, Luke, I'm curious to see how they go things about it if they're fourth and short in Liberty territory. Are they going to kick even when they're in supposedly Pavon's range? Are they going to opt to go for it on fourth down instead, just because how Pavon is, and that's no disrespect on Pavon whatsoever. That's just kind of how it is right now. Then he's still slumping. He's still not where he needs to be. So yeah, just my opinion. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give him this is gonna be close. 17-16 Sam Houston. I think it's gonna be very close. I still haven't seen anything out of the offense as of now to tell me that they're gonna score at least 21, 24 points. But I think the defense can hold Liberty's run game. It's gonna be a bit of a bend don't break. There's going to be at points where Cooley and Salter are going to have good runs against the defense, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, it's about what executing in the red zone. And I think Liberty's going to get in the red zone. I think they're going to score a few touchdowns, but I think the defense has shown us, especially on the road against Jacksonville State, that they can hold off a potent offense. So give me Sam Houston once again, 17-16. And Western Kentucky is a 1.5 point favorite at home against the Gamecocks. So I hope that Jacksonville State can pull it off on the road against Bowling Green, because I feel like if Sam Houston just gets one more shot at Jacksonville State, Luke, I think it bodes well more for us than it does the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to beat the same team twice in a season, right? Doesn't matter what sport it is. Doesn't matter who it is. It's tough. The big thing I'm looking at is Cooley. Salter hasn't been of what we've seen him be like last year. He just hasn't had that same spark. But running the ball, he's been good, and Cooley has been really phenomenal. especially last game. He had 166 yards, Colin, 2 touchdowns. He had a huge day, right? And so if you're able to slow him down and really suffocate this Liberty offense, I think you're going to be able to score on their defense. I think we'll be able to get some offense here. And I know I said that against Jax State, but I just feel like the moment has to come where this offense plays well late in the season. I mean, we just have to have that game. Um, and there's just not a better time to do it than at home. Black Friday, Liberty's going to be slow and sluggish off that turkey dinner on the flight. Colin, I really actually believe in this theory I just came up with. Well, I didn't come up with it. Other people come up with it too, I guess.
The turkey theory. The turkey theory.
I really think so. I think this is an awful spot for Liberty to be in. It's interesting that West Kentucky is favored. I guess you do get a few points at home anyways. They're also saying if this was a neutral site game, it'd be Liberty by 6.5 or 7. I guess so too. But I don't know, Colin. I just think I like this spot for Sam Houston. Where I've hated the spot the past couple weeks with Jax State and Kennesaw, and really against La Tech, I didn't like that spot either for us. I love this spot against Liberty.
This is where champions are made. It's these kind of games right here. It's these kind of moments. Yeah. It's like, I mean, obviously no one's going to get crowned a champion just yet, but this is a really good step to make. If you're Sam Houston, you take care of business against Liberty. Unfortunately, there is going to be a bit of anxiety because we all have to wait as Bearkat fans. If Sam Houston does beat Liberty the next day to see what happens with Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky, because they play the next day on Saturday.
And Colin, even if you don't play in the conference championship game, let's just say we win, but Western Kentucky wins that game, right? And we're not in the conference championship. We still went from 3-9 to 9-3, right? Even if we lose this game, 3-9 to 8-4. Colin, that's huge. That is huge for our program and the growth of it, and it says a lot about this team and the university, the coaches, everyone involved. Us, not really us. That says a lot of what we are, and hopefully, I pray that we get to go to a fun bowl game, like a really fun bowl game. But if we don't, it's okay. But it's a tremendous accomplishment of what this team has been able to succeed and be able to achieve, really, from what last year was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge bounce back.
Absolutely. Well, they were 3-8 heading into. They were 2-9 rather heading into the final game last year against Middle Tennessee. Well, they're 8-3 heading into this one. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna be there, of course, covering the game on the ground. It's going to be I'm hoping for a Bearcat victory. Well, that's going to do it for us. This was a very long pod, but especially with the situation at hand this Black Friday, I'm not really mad about it. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this one. Be sure you like and subscribe today if you haven't already. We're at 192 subscribers on YouTube. So like I said, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, let's get to 200 subscribers here in pretty soon. So for Luke Scott, I'm Colin Neal. This has been Sam Houston Sports Talk, and you know it, as always, eat 'em up, cats, and please have a great and safe Thanksgiving.
Eat 'em up, cats. Have a whole belly full of turkey.